Namaskaram, Hare Krishna. I am privileged and honored to be here with an august audience of trained, experienced doctors who are doing great humanitarian service, looking after people's health and helping them in many ways to keep good health so that they can be productive. So, thank you very much for this opportunity. I'll speak a few words on health and maybe something to do with the mind. In terms of health management, mind management, wellness, and such things. So, I think normally when we speak about medicine, for a long time at least, even in the history of medicine, we were always concerned with the body, with the physical body. And you will see in the history of medicine itself, at some point of time, they knew there are other factors apart from the body, which means the mind. And they also found that sometimes you could have a psychosomatic illness, that is, soma means body, and a bad health on the bodily level because of something to do with the mind. So the mind can influence and make you have a sickness on the bodily level. So there was recognition of this fact, and there are other elements and other factors affecting and bringing about bad health. And so there was psychoanalysis and psychiatry and other things became slowly known. And that also took a long time to be recognized as medicine. There was a tussle in that also in history. But over a period of time, now you know mental health has become very important. And you will see in the United Nations that depression has been declared as a disease and is most widespread disease. And so there is recognition of the fact that beyond the physical body, there is the mental health that's very important. So I'm glad to say that that type of recognition is there and slowly things are advancing. But from the viewpoint of Vedas, scriptures, Bhagavad Gita and their wonderful ancient Vedic tradition, it goes even beyond the mind. It says there are other layers of influence, and somehow we are very much involved only in the gross bodily level, and we think health has got to do with that, and we have done a lot of good progress on that. Medicine has done amazing things, no doubt, and brought a lot of relief to people in various walks of life, and advancements are still going on in many ways. It's great. But I think in the Vedic system of thought, you have a more holistic idea of what health should be. We'll talk about bodily level health, which we call gross body, Jada Sharira. Then we'll talk about a subtle body that you have, which is very powerful and which actually influences the body to a great extent. And that subtle body, or Sukshma Sharira, composing of the mind, body, the intelligence, the mind, and the false ego, Manaha, Buddhi, Ahankar. That's called the subtle body. And beyond that is a spiritual dimension of you and yourself in your identity as a spirit soul. So these are dimensions, and it says that it's topsy-turvy. Health, if you have good spiritual health, you have good mental, subtle body health, then you have physical body health, broadly classifying them. So if you have a good spiritual health, if you attend to your spiritual dimension, then the mental health and the bodily health are much better. But if you're not in the spiritual dimension, then sometimes people are in the mental dimension, the intellectual dimension and other things. And they find that, like I said, psychiatry and psychotherapy and everything, they find that, wow, we can influence the body. But how to influence the mind? How to influence the subtle body? What happens when the mind goes off? So now people understand that there's a spiritual dimension, and I can climb out to the spiritual dimension and actually keep my mental health good. So you talk about yoga, you talk about meditation, you talk about other types of factors. That's also being recognized now as part of health. Now health means, they'll always tell you, even allopathic doctors tell you better you do walking, you do yoga, you do meditation, you take off, you have a change like this, they'll tell you all those things are very necessary for you to keep a good atmosphere and an ecosystem in your subtle body. So one dimension that may not have yet been fully reached may be the spiritual dimension. Although there is stress on yoga and everything, I find in most of the yoga places, they do yoga for the sake of keeping good body and good mind, but they land up again in problems also. Somewhere there, even the spiritual dimension is not fully understood. So managing your physical body is one thing, managing your subtle body is another thing, and also managing your spiritual health is another thing. So the Vedic system of thought goes and gives you the full expanse and all these layers. And therefore, when we talk about health, to make it very easy, just like Dr. Sangeeta was explaining to me, community medicine, we teach them about good habits, teach them about good health, and surroundings and water. I've always found that important, that sort of a civic sense, keeping things clean. And if you're clean, you know that you could be healthy. It affects you. So people need to go through some subtle levels of understanding these things. So on a very subtle level, we also need to understand our spiritual dimension. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is, if we talk about mind and the subtle body level, it's likened to something like you have a hardware in a computer, you have a software, and then you have the person, the programmer himself. So something like that, the gross body is like the hardware, the subtle body is like the software. And the person is always sitting and programming it, and you can change these things, is the person himself, which in the Vedic system of thought in Bhagavad Gita would say is a spirit soul. It's you. That's your real identity. So I think knowledge is a very important factor also in maintaining our health. And on the level of the mind, there are many things that we could do to keep a good subtle body atmosphere, a subtle ecosystem nicely maintained. So normally people talk about mind management, and in that the most important factor is the mind needs to be controlled. That is something we all recognize. It's not so easy to control. I can control my body. I can even make good habits. I get up in the morning, I exercise, I do my yoga, I go for a walk, I eat good food, I do all that. But I can't really control my mind. And it's not just you and me saying it. In the famous Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is telling Krishna, when Krishna is telling him practice Hatha Yoga like this, he is telling Chanchalahi Manakrishna Pramati Bhagavat Didam Tasyaham Nigraham Manne Vayuriva Sudushkaram. He is saying, my mind is Chanchala, can't stick around in one place. And Vayuriva Sudushkaram, it is more difficult to control than the wind. And you are asking me to do this? Not possible for me to do. He had a very frank, open discussion on this, and he said, it's very difficult for me to control the mind. And then Krishna tells him, no, you must abhyasena tu kaunteya. By practice you can control the mind. By higher faculties you can control the mind. And he speaks about intelligence, using the intelligence, using your capacity in your spiritual level. And so when we recognize the whole hierarchy of how we are structured, then we can use a higher faculty to control the mind, like intelligence. And that's why for intelligence you need knowledge. If you feed knowledge into the intelligence, then you get information, and then with information and with knowledge, you're able to actually, as a higher force, to some extent, pin down the mind. That's one simple level. The other greater level is what the yogis would do. Actually rely on meditation, a spiritual practice, and energize the intelligence. And then through the intelligence, control the mind. It's like fortified, turbocharged intelligence. It's spiritually turbocharged, and that's more easy to do. So in this way, you'll see in Indian tradition, you'll find these methods, and many people have been practicing them. And even in your grandparents and all of them would be relying more on these type of things. And they have been successfully doing it. It's a reality. And today, at least to some extent, people are recognizing yoga and some spiritual dimension as being useful in controlling the mind and hence having a disease-free body to some extent, or to a greater extent. So these are the broad things that I could say in the short time that we have. And if you have more detailed questions, I can try to answer them and we can expand on it more. Okay?
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for this brief explanation about mind management. Dear doctors, if you have any queries, you can ask Maharaj.
You're free to ask anything, don't worry.
I would like to share an incident.
Yeah, please.
Recently, it was a business meeting going on. I was invited as a guest speaker there. A person came there, he fell down and he got cardiorespiratory arrest. Because I was there, I did a CPR. I transferred him to the hospital. Now he is alive with 2 stents. He got cardiac arrest there. I was a guest speaker there. I was not a regular attendee of that meeting. What is the inference you get from that, sir?
Well, you did a great job. Number one, you had a presence of mind, you used your knowledge, you used your experience, and you helped a person. Very wonderful. Seva. The next question also would be something that person should ask himself, why did this happen to me? At that crucial time. Unexpectedly. Of course, they tell you that all these heart problems and other type of diseases they're insidious and you don't know when they're going to get you. That's why you should take constant checkups and everything. So maybe he got a lesson that I am supposed to be careful. I need to wake up and do some checkups and everything. I'm not as healthy as I thought I am. Most people have an assumption about their health until some point of time their body tells them what you think is not right by something happening like this, and then it needs to be more precautious and more careful. Well, you see, the point is, that's what I said, a holistic understanding. A lot of our investment is on our body. Our body is very precious, very important to us, and we do all our functions through our body. Our enjoyment, our happiness, our name it, everything is through our body. We lead a highly body-centered life. I don't want to use the word we lead a highly materialistic life, but I would say body-centered life being a gross bodily centered life. But we also need to know these other dimensions. And we will be better educated and better prepared. The Vedic system of thought will tell you that the body is temporary. Antavante ime deha nityasyoktaha sharirina anasino aprameyasya. Krishna explained this very beautifully in the Bhagavad Gita. Antavante ime deha. There is an end to this body. Krishna is explaining. But you don't have an end. right? Just like the dress that you're wearing has got an end. After using it about 50 times, it tears up. You have to discard it. Wear another one. Buy a new dress. Similarly, the Bhagavad Gita tells us his body is like that. It's got an end. But you, the user of the body, are not like this dress, not like this body. You are constant, you are permanent, you are eternal. So when we have this idea that I am eternal, and this is a temporary body, I will not die when this body dies, a lot of anxiety goes if you really accept that and understand it. But if you keep thinking I am this body and my identity is on this body, then you will watch it troubling you, and the trouble that you suffer will be much more. Why? Because you think this is me. And in front of you it is slowly becoming older, becoming more diseased. So you get very much worried and you're in deep anxiety because your identity is fixed on this body. You get that? But with this education and knowledge, you will at least reduce it to a great extent. Suffering may be there because of the body, but you don't think this is the finish, this is the end of it. There's a big difference there. So sometimes this knowledge helps us a lot. So many times I have seen that devotees in our movement who become afflicted in some way with the bodily thing, this knowledge helps them a great lot to cure themselves also faster. And many doctors tell us that it's a pleasure to treat devotees because first thing they listen to you and you follow what I say, right? These two things I've heard many times, especially Ayurvedic doctors who tell me that mostly people don't take the kashayam I give you, you don't take that, you don't want to, eat at this time I tell you and sleep at this time I tell you don't want to do all that. But many of your devotees, they do it. For them, disciplining themselves is pretty much easy. And so it's a pleasure. I can see my medicine working and producing results and the person picking up health faster. So I think that if you have a spiritual dimension, even the doctors will be happy with you. And you'll also be happy. So it looks like both from the doctor's side and from the patient's side, they also know these things. Maybe we can take treatment and helping people to a much greater level. That's my brief comment on the instance that you quoted. I hope that helps. Yes.
For controlling mind,
Yeah.
everybody advises meditation, yoga. In meditation, it's more than 1,000 type of meditations. Which one we have to follow? Because every month we are changing.
Wonderful. It's an interesting question. It's also an important question. Many people advocating different types of meditations. Do this, do that, do that. They all may be definitely giving you benefits, but somehow people are not able to sustain it beyond a certain level. Because my mind is so much disturbed that even my meditation cannot be held together by me. True. That's why the Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavat, all of them tell us that at different times in society's, evolution, that says that there are periods. There is Satya Yuga, there is Treta Yuga, there is Dwapara Yuga, and we are in Kali Yuga. It says at different periods of time, different types of meditation was recommended. That in Satya Yuga they practice meditation, dhyana. That in Treta Yuga they did huge sacrifices in Homa, Yajna and all that. That was the recommended way of meditating. And then you will see in the Ramayana, you will see Homa, Yajna, Vishwamitra telling rishis and sages in the forest doing. And then Ramachandra goes to kill all those Rakshasas and Rakshashis who disturb the, Homa and Yajna, etc. In Dwapara Yuga, it is by temple worship. People who go and meditate on the form of the Lord, they would worship the Lord in many different ways. In this way, they will get fixed. That was a form of meditation. In Kali Yuga it is mentioned the form of meditation is to chant the holy names of the Supreme Lord. Sankirtana. And if you do that, it will be more easier for you to focus on the meditation. But if you start doing dhyana, which was meant for Satyuga, now in Kali Yuga, your mental disposition, your physical body and all of them don't cooperate so much with that. Because, like I said, the antariksha, the atmosphere has changed a lot. The thoughts and the type of people and their lifestyles all have changed. So in keeping with that, the meditation technique is this. It's easy to do. Tatrarpita niyamita smaranena kalaha. You don't have any time, place or specific instance to look for it. You can chant the holy name of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That is brought into this world by Krishna himself when he appeared as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he advocated that everybody chant this in Kali Yuga. It's an easy thing, there are no hard and fast rules, regulations. Anybody can chant it, anywhere you can chant it, anytime you can chant it. It will have immediate good effect. So this is the meditation for the age. But somehow you see people are trying other types of things. It's not that it won't work, but it may not work so efficiently, it may not be so easy to practice it. Right? So you should practice the meditation for the age, prescribed for the age. Like just as I am sure that you will agree, Prabhupada used this example of a founder saying that you can't go to the medical shop and choose the medicine you want. The doctor prescribes the medication according to your ailment. And only that you should say, no, I want that pills with a blue stripe on it and the red cap. You can't talk like that, isn't it? So similarly, the ailment in Kali Yuga, people's afflictions are how their mind is affected, how their health is affected, their body is affected. There's a particular way it's affected. And for that, this is tailor-made, this meditation. Chant the holy names of Krishna. So that works. And our founder Prabhupada has carried it all over the world to all types of people, all types of backgrounds, cultures, and they have all successfully accepted it and they're doing it for many years. And they're finding it works. Yeah. So you could try that. We could teach you how to do it. Maybe at the end of the session we can also do some kirtan.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sir, you
Yeah.
talked about karma.
Yeah.
In real life, many people who are doing good things are suffering a lot, and people doing bad things are leading a good life. What is your influence on it?
As a doctor you're speaking?
No, sir.
Generally.
As a general person, I am asking.
I think that doctors have a lot to do with karma. Because they're also involving themselves directly in that palpably, experientially in karma that's going on with people, especially disease, pain, suffering, death, all that you see here, what you call the arrowhead of karma actually happening many times. So but we must understand that there are laws in this world that function, just as much as there are traffic laws, there are laws for building a building, there are laws for everything, otherwise human society would be crazy. So there are laws in human society, and if we don't follow them, then we implicate ourselves in karma. I'm speaking either good or bad. Sometimes you not only follow, you go beyond and do something good. Then you have good karma. And sometimes you are doing something that's bad, obviously wrong. Then you will implicate yourself in bad karma. So life is definitely a mix of these two things. And you may have done it sometime in lifetimes before, and you need a conducive situation for that particular karma to take effect, either good or bad. about 7. Some background music.
Someone is unmuted.
Yeah. So you need to also have a particular situation, time, place, circumstance to affect a karma, right? So there is a whole management on that, karma management, and we don't know much about it. There are subtle forces involved in managing it. So sometimes it is that you, in this lifetime, have not done anything really bad. You're nicely married, you have 2 kids, and you have a nice loving family, and tra-la-la-la, everything is fine, and something happens. Somebody comes and arrests you and says, you are the guy, according to our reference, this. It's not me. It's not me. I never did that. I'm a nice guy. You'll see that I went and did a program in jails. At least 2-3 times I did the program in the jail. There's one person who comes and says that actually I was falsely convicted. I'm a nice guy. And I got framed by so and so, the political party did this to me, I'm here. And I don't know, I'm suffering like this, why? Like that. Many times I've seen. Nothing will happen to you without a reason. That is first thing you must know. Everything is very well controlled. If you're talking about, you go to a shop, you're told CCTV is watching you, be careful. Right? And we behave ourselves because we know we're under a camera. Your behavior completely changes when you're told that you're under CCTV, isn't it? It happens. But as soon as you close your room inside your house now, there's no CCTV, you do all sorts of things. You yell and scream and you dance and you can do anything you want because you're not under CCTV. What if I tell you, no, there is constantly a CCTV on you, just that you don't know. You don't know. Sometimes people don't know they are under CCTV in a big mall and they try to do something and the fellow catches them. So, oh gosh, I didn't know there was a CCTV. Right? What if I tell you that you are under constant surveillance? But just that you're so forgetful about God, so forgetful about laws, you think you are the Lord and center of everything. It's a upside down world that you live in. Okay? So therefore, you don't know that you are being watched. Everything that you do has been recorded. What to speak of some TV? It's a much better high resolution recording of everything of yours. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, I am there in your heart as Paramatma, constantly sitting next to you. And not only that, the Shastra tells us all the cosmic controllers are watching. There are many other people. You're never alone. You're never alone. That's the understanding. So everything you do is recorded. So in this lifetime, from your bank balance of karma, something will affect you. Because your situation is correct for that to happen. So it happens, and in this lifetime you will say, I never did anything wrong. But it's not, your account is not only from this lifetime. From the past, from your whole, it's called Sanchita Karma, your bank balance.
So you believe in rebirth, sir?
Pardon?
Rebirth.
Whether I believe or not, it's going to happen. Do you believe the sun is not there, sir? You believe in the sun? Because it's going to rise tomorrow anyway. You will be forced to believe that there is sun, even if you say, no, it's not there. I don't see it, so I don't believe it. Right? You'll be forced to believe it tomorrow, it will come up. And you will know I believe in the sun. You have to see it. Same way, whether I believe it or not, some things are going to happen to me. I'm going to die. You believe in it or not? Yeah. Similarly, you'll be born. You believe in it or not? You have to.
I do not know, sir. That's it.
No. You're going to die, no?
Yes, sure.
And you've also seen many people being born. Right? Same thing will happen to you. Just like sunrise and sunset. You'll be born, you'll die. Jatasya dhruvam mrityu dhruvam janma mritasya cha. Krishna is saying, one who's born will be dead, one who's dead will be born again. So why are you worried? So, it's not a question of me believing in rebirth. All this is Western thought. To say that, do you believe in rebirth? Whether I believe it or not, it's going to happen to me. It's going to happen to me. That's the main point. So, my belief and my faith is not the only reality. My reality is not according to my faith and belief alone. My reality is according to the reality. I'll be subjected to the reality whether I have faith in it or not. So you have no choice. Whether you believe in rebirth or not, you'll be pushed through it. That's the mention. That's what I mean by saying law. You see, Prabhupada said, you cannot say you're ignorant of the law. It is your duty to know the law. That's like if you're working in a hospital, you're head of a hospital for long. No doctor, no patient can say, I did not know that if I administered this to him, this will happen to me. I did not know that this should not be done. And all that. You better know it, otherwise you'll be dismissed from this hospital and from your profession. Same way Prabhupada told us that I can't go to America and drive on the left side of the road and say I'm from India. It's the left hand drive there. And then he'll say, very good, fine, you take this fine of $1,000 and you may be from India, you read left-handed, but if you're driving in America, you must know that this is right-hand drive. Before you drive, you must know this, right? So ignorance of law, faith in that or not is all not the real question. It's going to happen to you. You will be punished. You will be subjected to the law. That seems to be more the stuff that life is made of. You see, there is enough scientific evidence also for this. You'll be surprised to know that many people believe in rebirth because I had the opportunity to meet with Dr. Satwant Parishchita. Maybe 25 years back I met her. She was the first person who got a PhD on reincarnation.
Huh?
Reincarnation. In India. She was in NIMHANS, Bangalore. National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosurgery and all. I ran to meet her because I was just discovering Bhagavad Gita, I was reading all that. I thought that you must have read the Gita. You must have read the Gita, and that's why you are able to say reincarnation is... She said very curtly to me, I'm not religious, I didn't read the Gita at all. I said, how did you get your PhD in reincarnation? She gave me an amazing answer. She didn't want to spend time with me because she thought you're just a young monk. But still I was interested in knowing. She said, I did case studies of people who recollected their past lives. So many case studies. And she said, I now believe that there is reincarnation, that we are born again. So you don't even have to believe religiously, I'm saying. But scientific evidence today, so many people are saying, I lived here before, I'll show you my house, I'll show you the cupboard, I remember this is the one, and actually all sorts of case histories are there now. And you can't say no to it. Because they're recollecting, I lived here and this is my auntie, and you can go and ask him this was his thing, I was shot dead, and you see in his chest there's a big mark, in his present body, previous life he was shot dead or something, or 10 lives before he was shot dead, I don't know. All these are cases put up. How can you not believe in rebirth? Even if you're not religious, you don't believe in this. Case studies. She's an example of a doctor who's actually believing in reincarnation. And there is so many doctors who have spoken about it. There are so many. There's Ian Stevenson, Dr. Ian Stevenson, he's the most popular. He's done research on some 5,000 cases or something. Dr. Raymond Moody. They've all written amazing books and showing that we come back. We are not just the body. So many information.
Whether it happens to the same species or a different one?
Pardon?
The rebirth will happen in the same species, like human will...
That again depends on your karma.
When it will end?
Huh?
When it will end?
When you want to. When you actually want it, when you become aware and you start asking these questions, who am I? What am I doing here? Going from death to life and this species and that species, I'm going on, what am I doing? So those things are real spiritual questions. Then you're woken up spiritually, you're asking questions. Then you will know that there are other dimensions of existence and there is greater life going on which is accessible to me. Then you will end your material type of an experience. You'll be eager to do so because you want to experience something different. That's mentioned. In technical terminology, it's called moksha. Moksha means liberation from the material atmosphere. I have no more. Yes.
Guruji,
Yeah.
my question is, in day-to-day life, we are coming across with a lot of events, and some events are still we are remembering some events, and it is pricking our mind, and it's affecting our day-to-day activities. How to come out of the past events?
You mean some traumatic event?
Not traumatic events, day-to-day activities. For example, if you are doing a death declaration today, and I come across that, and I was driving or I was cooking, still that I am remembering the past events. How to come out of the past events mentally? Physically, I am coming out of that. How to come out of that mentally also? Because this is a major problem faced by the doctors with the patients, and we are having a negative. The occupation is negative. We are hearing all the problems, and it is pricking our mind. And when we come to our house also, this keep on it's hitting our mind. Our family, children will be very happy in the house from the hospital, and we are carrying that burden. And how to come out of that, and to stay in the present tense, and to sustain to stay in the present tense also.
A very practical question. Yeah. Actually, Arjuna was in a similar position. He got entwined and involved in the participants in the war, especially in the opposite side. And he could see that I'm connected and related with them, and therefore this profession of mine is not something that I can execute now. So Krishna tells him that you must work with detachment. He says you must learn the art of executing a work without becoming entangled in it, without becoming attached to the results, but doing it for the sake of duty. So, on one plane I would answer by saying, you're a doctor and you must do your duty. You will ask me, you want to say I should do a duty without any feeling and everything. But your profession is such that you're going to face all these emotional struggles of people, brought about by a mental disorder, by physical disorder, by death, by disease, by terminal illness, by all these things that affect people, isn't it? They affect people, and you see, actually as doctors, you see the human condition more deeply. More deeply, you see suffering more deeply. So you should be actually questioning what is going on, why people suffer, and why I also suffer. I cannot just be dutiful and just stitch up the thing and say, go ahead, that's life. Let me be bland and unattached and like a stone, like a block of wood. And I'm not saying that either. But you need to manage this. You need to be a human being. You need to reciprocate with emotions. At the same time, your job is of that type. And you need to be in the center of it. So actually in that place you have an amazing opportunity to look at things spiritually. Yes. And grow spiritually there. This is what I tell many doctors. I say, if I was in your place, I'd be growing both materially and spiritually. But what happens to many of our people, they don't have that information. So they get choked up.
Awareness.
And they don't have a pressure release.
Awareness
of what's going on, why it's going on, how I don't have control over it. Like if somebody is experiencing his karma, you can do your best, but you know many times that my effort is not the only factor. I may be the best physician, the best surgeon, but you know, many surgeons know that offer your prayers, you may have. The best person cannot sometimes do it. And the best person, even if he does it, also he knows that it's because of some higher blessing. That's a realization that many people have, especially if they've opened up spiritually. It's not that they subtract God's factor in it. That Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita that anything that happens has got 5 factors. One is the person, the place, the time, the endeavor, and God. Daivam Chaivatra Panchamam. The fifth factor, Panchama, is Daiva, God's influence. It's automatically there in everything that's happening. Leave alone you catering to somebody and saving his life like she said, she did. Even if somebody is not in this profession of saving lives or anything, is doing anything else, there's a God factor in everything. That's mentioned by Krishna. So, if a person becomes a little open to that and recognizes it, then you will view things differently. At least you don't get entangled, attached, emotionally entwined so much. You do feel it. But what to do? I mean, your situation is like that. This is your karma. This, you've done something in the past. So I advise you to know that you're suffering because of some past activity that was negatively done by you. And nothing will come to you without that. It's not that somebody is unnecessarily making you suffer. Just as you don't go around looking for suffering, similarly, you don't have to go around looking for happiness. It's a statement made by Prahlad. It will come to you anyway because it's supposed to come to you. Right? So in the same way, when somebody is suffering, you know, this is a bad patch of my life. I've given this suffering to somebody else, and that is boomeranging on me. That is the awareness. That's what I mean by knowledge. So when a person suffers, he knows that I've done this to somebody else and I'm suffering. This is a spiritual way to look at suffering. If a doctor knows Bhagavad Gita, he knows these things, he's in a better situation to also administer a spiritual advice to that person. I'm curing you, but I think you should change this attitude of yours. You should factor God in your life. You should actually, doctors have a powerful position to do that. So why not give him a holistic cure? Tell him you should stop doing this, or you're smoking or drinking or whatever. It's not only that, but I'm saying you should wake up spiritually also a little bit. And if you do that, you'll have the power to stop your habit and become a victim of this. And you should change your dimension life. Otherwise, again, you're going to have cirrhosis of the liver, you're going to get lungs screwed up like this or that. It's going to happen. And not only that, you're doing some greater damage to yourself on the subtle level and on the spiritual level. So, you see, the good holistic dimension of a cure would mean the doctor is also spiritually sound. And he's also practicing that. I think that's a very good doctor. He becomes a spiritual doctor, a mental platform doctor, and a physical doctor together. I would say that doctors have a great opportunity in that point to grow, to contribute to every patient in a different way. Because I also know that the whole profession is also entwined with other stuff like making money and becoming big and that aspect, the material aspect of it. And sometimes I've spoken very closely to many doctors who are also devotees and all that. We run a hospital, Bhakti hospital in Mumbai. And patients, we meet with them. And in my talk to them, I understood that most of the doctors in the world are there in a profession to make money. A lot of them think that way. Quite a good lot of them also think in terms of, I want to do something for humanity. At the same time, whatever I get, gains, I'll also get. Some of them do think that I go all out to do service to humanity, and whatever I get, or if I don't get, it's okay. Like that. There are all sorts of people. I met many of them, and there are people who completely want to do it charity oriented, you do it. So the point here is that whatever it may be, the choice is ours. What type of a doctor you want to be? What type of a doctor you want to be?
I want to be, first myself want to be healthy by all means, physically, mentally. Then only I can deliver the same to the people. If I am upset with one patient, next patient I see, I will show the same thing to them. I will deliver my irritability to them. So first I want to make myself healthy, that's
Exactly.
where the question comes.
Exactly. So you may also need to practice some amount of spirituality in your life. that will help you to control your mind and be detached and give you strength to do those things. Then you can really serve your patients nicely.
And one more,
You'll be a deep holistic doctor. You know, the saying is, doctor, heal thyself. Normally they say that. Very famous statement. So you first look after yourself so that you can look after others better. It's also a good point that you made.
And one more best point is, in our curriculum, we have added the spiritual dimension.
Wow, that's great.
There are a lot of dimensions of health. I know first year you would have been reading. In the first, in our community medicine chapter, first chapter itself, we are saying about various dimensions of health. And for the past 6 to 7 years, the spiritual dimension has been included in that. Just for your
Very good. Very interesting.
information.
Yes.
So we used to teach the mental health and spiritual dimension to the students from the first year onwards, because they need to be very strong to face the society and to face themselves. And the guilty feeling. The guilty feeling, suddenly if something happens, when compared to, as per my experience, to the female male members, the females are easily affected. They are having, if the child is not eating properly, first the ladies are feeling the guiltiness. So how to overcome the guiltiness also? And something happened, I am responsible for that. And it's very common among the working women. And
Well, that is a deep topic, what you want to open up. You said working women, you used all these terminologies. Working women, it's only women who get affected like this.
commonly.
Guilt and all that. Well, women are women. They are meant to be like that. They are meant to be emotionally sensitive, emotionally intelligent, because they need to bring up children. And they are dependent on the children. They need to give affection, love, and be available for people. And they play a very important role in society. I call that womanhood. Let's call that womanhood. At the same time, in our society, there's a great push to empower women economically. Okay? Women's empowerment in the name of that. Go get a job, do a job and all that. But somehow women feel that unless I get a job and I'm a working woman, I don't feel validated. I don't feel I'm really doing something. So that's another big topic. But in the workplace, your womanhood shows up. You feel emotion. You feel more than the so-called bland, matriarchal, that person who is analytically very good and he has no feelings for the employees or for this thing and all that. So you're different. So in corporate companies, they make use of this. And they say that women can relate better with the co-workers and everybody. So they use that. But then the repercussion on the woman who does that also is what you're talking about. There's certain roles, if women do accept, not saying don't accept, they should also do it in such a way that their womanhood is also preserved, it's not sacrificed. Women's empowerment without sacrificing womanhood. Don't disempower your womanhood and empower yourself economically. But do both. We have history in India of people doing that. You have warriors or ladies. You speak about, all sorts of, Rani Lakshmi Bai and, you speak about Chandi Bibi and Ahmednagar, and you can speak about so many warriors with their kids and this thing they went in for. They didn't sacrifice their womanhood. The great thing about Indian women is they can do both. That thing I think should be preserved. If you have to do this job, which you need to do, which you think validates you, well, I wouldn't care if I was a woman with the knowledge that I have, that I want to validate myself by getting a job. I am what I am, and I will focus more on what I should do. But if you need to, that you don't sacrifice your womanhood. Because what you're asking me is a technically sensitive point. I feel guilt, I feel all that in my job. You must feel, because you're in a woman's body. It's natural for you to feel it.
It's a common question among...
Don't give it up. If you give it up, you're giving up your womanhood.
I know.
Okay? That's my point. And it's difficult to balance it when you are surrounded by
very
men
difficult.
and who are different, highly analytical, and then they ask you to come up to that point, and I shed my emotional thing. Then you have to stop being a woman. And that's dangerous for your identity. It creates a psychological strain in you, and that will show up when you go to your child, when you go to your house and all that. And working women battle with this in their subtle body. It's very difficult and dangerous, and sometimes they don't know how to manage it. But
Many a times.
if you are cultured properly, and if you know what is important and all that, you know how to balance it. When it's becoming too much, you slip. No, I'm not doing
Yes.
that. That's it.
That
I
is-
know of many women who said, now I'm married, I've got my first child, I resigned my job. I said, why? I want to focus on being a mother. I want to give myself to my child, I'm going to look after my house, my husband and everything. I'm happy, and I'll do a little bit of some business at home because I have that talent or something. I'm more happy this way because I feel fulfilled. My personal fulfillment and having time and space for myself makes me feel happy and nice, balanced. So I know how to do that job. I was in an IT job, but now I think I should not do it. Why? I want to live a rich inner life. I want to be available to my child. I want him to grow nicely, at least for the next 7-8 years till he grows up this thing. I don't want to take it. So sometimes I feel women know how to balance it with intelligence and with good advice and counsel. Sometimes the husbands telling the women who say, I don't want to work, they no, you must work. You need the money. And forcing her to do it. And she succumbing to it and working. All sorts of permutations and combinations you find. But if we have values, certain things about valuing women, valuing their role in society, in the family, and their necessity and making them feel wanted in that role, then they'll remain in that role. But the problem is nowadays there's no value for that role. It's decreased and diminished a lot. But we have to create value for that traditional role of a woman in society. We should not become too Western influenced. We should not, whatever we do, we should do without diminishing this role. Then society will be, because a woman's role is very important as a mother, as a wife, as a main fulcrum within the whole joint family. So many things she plays as a role, very important role.
Thank you.
Pardon?
Your Purvashram mother also was balanced. You often say that.
Ah, yeah. Right. So I hope that's a sensitive point you asked me, so I have to explain. I'll give you a longer answer.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Any other question? Whether they're recording or not, don't worry. We are on
Viji, see,
Yeah.
you take the physical body, subtle power, that is mind, then the spiritual practice. Is there any standard way to do a spiritual practice like this? Since we are doing, since as a human, nama vasadikaga, we are worshipping the heart. சில நேரம் கோயிலுக்கு போகிறோம், சில நேரம் வீட்டிலே சாமி கும்பிடுறோம், ஈவன் சில நேரம் விரதம் இருக்கிறோம், சில நேரம் வந்து ஈவன் நம்ம விலங்குகளை கூட பலி கொடுத்து நம்ம சாமிக்கு வர்ஷிப் பண்ணுறோம். So, is there any standard way that God should be worshipped like this?
Yes, there is a standard way in Kali Yuga.
There are so many gods also. See, நம்ம வீட்டில் மட்டும்தான் நிறைய சாமி photos இருக்கும். So, whether we are doing our spiritual worship properly, or is there any standard way that இப்படி தான் நம்ம பண்ணணும், இப்படி தான் பண்ணக்கூடாது, அப்படி ஏதாவது rules அந்த மாதிரி இருக்கு?
So you know quacks?
Yeah.
You guys are very familiar with quacks, right? As soon as they say quacks, you say, you're not a doctor, he doesn't know how to do it. Because he does not know the standard way of doing it. But many quacks are very popular in society. They do a lot of active treatment and they relieve many people's this thing also. For the quack, he's doing something. But according to you, he does not know exactly what is what. According to you, there must be a standard. You must be educated in medicine. You must know the whole Gray's Anatomy book. You must know this, you must have studied, you must have operated, you must have... Then only you can be a qualified this thing. Correct. Same way with religion and worship of God also. There are a lot of quacks in this field. But there is a standard practice. There is a way of doing it. Especially according to this time, place and circumstance. As per Kali Yuga. How to do it. If you read the Bhagavad Gita on your own, you'll be wondering, how could I practice it now? In this time and age, I'm going for a job, I have children, I have, this commitments and all that, who I do. So somebody has to tell you how to do it now, in this situation you are in. Right? So there is a standard practice for people in Kali Yuga, in these type of situations that I was explaining to you. The Bhagavad Gita very clearly delineates it. He says, don't go for that type of yoga, this type of yoga and all. That's all very difficult in Kali Yuga. In Kali Yuga, you just straight away practice Bhakti Yoga. And that's the best form of yoga. In the 6th chapter, Krishna concludes in the last shloka by saying, Yoginam api sarvesham adgati nantaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yovam same yukta uttama mata. Yukta uttama. The topmost yogi is that person who becomes my devotee. He'll get all the yogi benefits immediately. So that's advocated in Kali Yuga, that you become a bhakta. You chant this Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. You worship one God, Krishna. He is the source of all gods, is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. Right? By worshipping that one person is like pouring water at the root of the tree, and all the branches and the flowers and the leaves and the twigs and everything will get water. You don't have to go around watering everything separately. Like you asked, many gods are there, what shall we do? Shortcut in Kali Yuga, you don't have time, pour water at the root. All the gods will be happy. You chant this one mantra, everybody is happy. Ekam Shastram Devaki Putra Geetam. Shankaracharya said, one scripture is enough, Bhagavad Gita. Eko Devo Devaki Putra Eva. One God is enough, that Devaki's Putra, Krishna. Eko Mantras Tasya Namani Yani. One mantra is enough, his name. Karmapi Ekam Tasya Devasya Seva. One work is enough, service to him. One work, one mantra, one God, one scripture. Short, standard way of doing it. And the same thing has been propagated by Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. Packaged, very nicely packaged, very easy to do, and we are marketing that. By the way, I'm a marketing man for that. I practice it, and I'm not a marketing man who is not practicing it. I practice it and I market my experience and convince people to take it up, and they are all doing it, and many of them are happy. It's a good package, Swamiji. I'm doing it, it's very easy to do. And I become more disciplined and more happy, and I find a richer life. That's the type of feedback I normally get. Very rarely I get a negative feedback. Okay? That is the standard practice. And it's packaged very well by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we are delivering it as it is. We'll be very happy to deliver it to you too. It's free. Yes.
My question is the extension of this question, that the good people get suffering, bad people are enjoying their life. This yuga.
No, I answered that by saying, you may be good in this yuga, in this life.
That's
You may have,
but when he will realize, that is, but he get frustrated. Now the good person is get frustrated this
he
year.
should not remain ignorant. I told that also. The law is, you must not remain ignorant of the law. As a human being, you should never be ignorant about who you are, what are you doing here. But that's the only thing we don't know. We know everything else. We know about the subatomic particle, and we know about how to shoot a rocket into space, how to send Chandrayaan to the moon. Who are you? I don't know. We know all other questions, right? So that's the foundational problem with our education. So if you are aware of this identity and answers to these questions, then you will know why it has come to me like this. Why I am doing good materially. So it's actually material good and material bad that we go through is not really the real issue. Everybody who is in this world is going through some amount of this and that. It's like a giant wave moving. Sometime it will hit you somewhere. If nothing hits you, you will die anyway one day. That's the biggest hit. You'll stop, you'll cease to exist. You'll no more be alive. Right? So life is a tragedy. You will die. You will die, everybody will die. That itself should make a person think what, when, how, what. So this capacity to think and question about life, existence and everything is foremost. If that is attended to, all other things will become very easy. But foundation, if you're not attended to this, everything will become weak. Right? That's the whole thing about Bhagavad Gita. Krishna told Arjuna that only. The first question, when he said all these things, I will not fight, my relatives are there, this is bad, dharma, this thing, then there will be motherless children, fatherless children, this is, I will be the reason for so many things he said. And he said, finally, please instruct me. First thing that Krishna told him in 2.11, second chapter 11 is, first I want to tell you that you spoke so many things as though you know, you don't know. First accept that. Asochayan anvasochastum prajnavadham sabhashase. Prajnavada, very intelligent talk you did. But then why are you crying if you know all these things? You are in a position where you are saying everything that you know, but you are still crying. That means you don't know. First you accept this. So most of us think we know, but actually we don't know. First you learn that. If you know who we are, where are we, what are we doing, then you will see you find it easier to execute all your material duties. Be it your doctor profession, be it your family, be it your social situation, எல்லாத்தையுமே நீங்க வந்து you can do nicely. With balance, with firm. Even if you have your karma affecting you badly, you're more stable. You're more stable. You see, it's like anesthetizing yourself. I give this example many times. Many of you are dentists, and you know that I just had my this thing crown got some infection, and so they took out the crown and they dug out everything from the root canal and put medicine up, and I'm waiting for recrowning and all that. And that time he said, Swamiji, I don't want to give you anesthesia because you're a Swamiji. I just kept quiet. And then his friends to portion was saying, yes. Then he said, no, I think after some time the infection is, I'll have to slit it, or I have to give you. I just said, you do what you think is best. You told me no anesthesia, I don't mind. You want to try it out, I don't mind. But if you think that anesthesia is good, he said, I don't know what to do. I said, you do what you think is right. I'm surrendering myself to you because you're the dentist. Right? When you come to the temple and you ask me, I'll ask you to surrender to what I say. But in this thing, I am surrendering to you. Then he had to do, then he gave me anesthesia. And then he started doing everything without me feeling anything. Right? And then I go home and then he tells me, Swamiji, take this painkiller. I don't want you to suffer. I said, I don't need painkiller, it's okay. But pain, and more than that, I'm giving another one. As soon as you put it in your mouth, the pain will go. I didn't use both of them actually. I didn't use both the painkillers. It was not painful to me. But the pain did come a little bit, dull pain and all. And after some time, anesthesia enabled me to have a painless surgery. Same way, your spiritual life and your practice will make you have, although you have a bad karma affecting you, it will not actually affect you. Although I have pain, I don't feel it because of the anesthesia. It's not that I don't have pain. I have pain, I don't feel it. Similarly, although I have a bad karma, it will not seriously affect me because I'm covering it with my spiritual strength, anesthetizing myself by my spiritual awareness. To some extent, there's a dull pain, maybe, but much, much less. Right? So we need to definitely wake up to our spirituality. It's very useful, even materially. It's very good materially. We must, functionally and also as a human being, because you're going to die anyway one day. You must know, who am I? What did I come here for? What am I supposed to do? What did I do? What did I not do? What happened to me after death? These are all questions that any intelligent man has in his head, and we should answer them. That gives us fortification spiritually and helps us to meet our material situations better.
There's a question online.
Pardon?
There's a question online.
Yeah.
This is from Muralidharan Shivarajan. Nice to hear from you again, Maharaj. When everything is preordained, why should we take the trouble to treat someone or try to intervene in
Everything is not preordained, so the whole question is answered. I never said everything is preordained. It's not preordained.
or try to intervene in an unexpected medical emergency like on a flight? People say just watch everything like a TV and don't get too involved in the web of karma. Also, do you have your take on someone else's karma for intervening, especially in a paid situation?
Interesting question. But like I answered that everything is not preordained. We are playing our roles. It is, you can say yes and no. Like somebody getting a particular physical, mental or a pathological situation is karma, you can say. Or somebody can be, because somebody else stuck a knife in his backside, he's also got a problem. And that's not because, sometimes because of karma, it may be because somebody creating new karma by doing this. That's also possible. So it's not so simple, simplified to say that everything is preordained. No, it's not. It's a combination of many things. Sometimes somebody is creating a new karma and he will suffer for that or benefit that later. Sometimes somebody is suffering a reaction to his past and somebody has to give this to him in this way. All these combinations, it's a very complex thing. It's not that we can study it so simply. But having said that, am I interfering in somebody's karma by me going, he's supposed to die, but I cured him and he's alive. The problem with many of us is that we tend to play God. Remain only a doctor. Don't become God.
That's great.
You don't play God. You have a tendency to feel that I did it for you, I saved your life. I'm feeling great about it. And it's a nice feeling, but don't extrapolate that feeling to such a thing that I gave you life. No, you didn't give life. You helped me through my difficult situation and you were an instrument in God's hand to do this for me. The doctor should feel I was an instrument in God's hand. If he's spiritually cultured, he will say that. And I am very thankful to be such an instrument and I was able to benefit you in this way. We are both benefited by depending on the Supreme Lord. That's a more cultured way of thinking. Rather than taking out the God factor from your life and feeling that I am the one who gave you life. Then starts a real problem, both for you and for the patient. And for the patient. So the truth, like I said to you, Devam Jaivatra Panchamo. God is a factor, you can't deny it. You can't deny it. So because the question, during the Corona period, many people are asking, even though there is doctor, they're all dying. So there's a public, common feeling that we're not able to cure it. It's beyond me. We don't know this so-called virus, where it has come from. I don't know anything about it. It's attacked me. Right? So there are situations where even though you're a doctor, you cannot do it. But now you can do it. If a coronavirus affects, you know what to do. You've been educated in it and you know by experience how to do it. Right? So there's also instances when you really don't know what to do. Right? So that time we know that there is some higher force and that's operating. People are dying. There's some other force beyond me. So these are practical experience of people. So I would say, I shouldn't be saying this to you. You're all quite much known. But the problem comes when you play God. And a lot of, not only doctors, scientists do it. Big philosophers do it. They all, why? Man is great and he's the architect of his own life. Philosophers also do that, scientists do that. And many other professions also, people say, I want to be worshipped as good as God. I brought you this, I brought you employment, I gave you money, I started this place and I'm a God for you. And maybe the employees all saying, Ningadai, the Devamga, Nadamadum and all, they would say this. It's not in one phenomenon. The tendency to do that and feel that and be that is there in many human beings. That's why we need to culture ourselves and be an instrument. That is mentioned by Krishna to Arjuna. Nimitta matram bhava savya sachan. Simply be my instrument and I'll do everything. Agree to be, and I'll go through you. This is how the war was won. And Arjuna agreed. And he acted as an instrument. So that is a very rich realization and a high realization. I know of many famous doctors who consider themselves to be instruments. Many of these Christian doctors, I've seen them, they very dedicatedly do their thing. And they have a very, very God-conscious operation there. I find that among the Christian community, they have lots of hospitals and they go all out to do relief work. And they really feel they're just an instrument in God's hands. I appreciate that. It's very, very deeply thought.
An interesting observation, Maharaj, like if we claim that we are responsible for the patient's life back, then when the patient succumbs, we pass it to Almighty Name. I tried my best, but God has decided some. So if we claim that we are responsible for the life, then we should be ready to accept that when the patient succumbs to it.
Yes.
But that we generally don't do it. That's what I have observed.
Situational lordship.
At that time, we immediately pass it to the Lord. What to do? I did everything, but God has decided some other way.
That's also true. At least you're acknowledging that. Good enough.
There's another question online. It's from Kalyani Venkatakrishna Mataji. Hare Krishna Maharaj and Pranam. Is medical profession a noble one from the spiritual point of view? Also, are doctors empowered souls by Krishna?
Well, I think I answered that all along. If you say a doctor is empowered, it also means that he himself voluntarily is connected with God. He's a God-conscious person. Only a God-conscious person can be empowered. It's not that I'm not the least bit bothered about God, but I'm empowered by God. It doesn't work like that. So mostly people who are God-fearing, God-loving, God-conscious, beautiful, are also the people who could be empowered by God. Krishna says that yat karoshi yad ashnasi yad juhosi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. He said, make it a common thing for you to always factor me. Anything you do, anything you eat, any activity you sing, make it as an offering to me. Keep me connected with you. Keep yourself connected with me. So that's the life of an advanced human being. He's always connected with God in everything that he does. So that's a question of culture and advancement in spirituality and being mature. But I don't know how much of us are able to do that to the full extent. Accordingly, there are gradations. Yeah, we should accept that. Okay? If you take off the camera, maybe people will start speaking more things.
Any other questions, dear doctors?
What about the homams and yagas? Because only it really help.
Of course, it does help. But in Kali Yuga, it is difficult to do it successfully. Nalla paal nahi uttanonu sonna pure ghee kadikadu. In the ghee there is animal fat. In the ghee there is this, that and all that. Then you may not get a priest who may know to do it properly.
If that's one corrected,
it will have its effect. But it's very challenging to do it with all these factors in place correctly in Kali Yuga, normally. But the same effect you can get by doing Harinama Sankirtana. That is mentioned. They said, Yadapnoti tadavapnoti kalau Sankirtana Keshava. All these things in different yugas, whatever they did, same effect you can get in Kali Yuga by chanting the holy name. So it's called Sankirtana Yajna. It's also a Yajna. So you're only bothered about the result. Fine, you don't mind the methodology as long as the result comes.
So how do you manage the ego problems?
Good question. Wonderful. I like that question. So, what did you mean by ego?
Edging out, God out.
Huh?
Edging God out.
Exit. I am
Yeah, edging the God out. End of the human body.
edging the God out. Means we will take God out of it and we will think that we are everything.
Yes, some superior, I am the superior, I am the...
Ah.
That is having the...
Feeling great about yourself.
Yes.
Right. You see, that's actually called ahankar. Ahankaram. In Tamil you will say ahankaram.
Yes.
Aham kara. Nanda, they say that. Nanda great. Aham kara. That's called ahankar. So it's called false ego in English.
Yeah, true.
Ego everybody must have. Ego means your original identity.
Yes, sir.
But false ego is bad. Ahankara is bad. And that is what you are telling how to remove my... English la வந்து the ego ன்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. But I'm just correcting it. Ego இருக்கணுங்க. You must have identity of yourself. Because you are somebody, you know. You have an identity. You can say I am Dr. So-and-so. That is your material identity. But you also have a spiritual identity. Right? So that is called ego. Pure ego. Your identity. Originally your identity is Jivere Swarupuhoi Krishnere Nityadasa. Originally I am a spiritual entity, eternally a servant of the Almighty Godhead. Aduthaan ungaluடைய pure ego. But false ego in the material world you'll feel that covering. I am a doctor, I am very good. I am very good in the profession. What do you know? And you just, this is called false ego. That's what you are talking about.
Yes, yes.
How to get rid of that, right?
Yes, yes.
That is a first step in spiritual life. We recognize this, that unnecessarily I am proud and think I am very great and all that. I must become humble. Actually, you become humble when you see somebody greater than you. You will either be humble or you become envious of that person. இது ரெண்டுல ஏதாவது ஒன்று இருக்கும். பொறாமை இல்லைன்னா வினியமா அவங்க truly you are great sir, you did a wonderful thing. I like to learn from you. I want to serve you. I want to be with you. Please train me. This is humility. Enviousness சொன்னா நீங்க யாரு பெரியது நானும் கூட பண்ணிக்கலாம். I am also great only. It's not that. This is the other normal material feeling is this. A cultured person will feel the other way. You are really good in this subject matter. I want to learn from you. I don't want to be having false ego. I like to study with you.
Mature and mature people.
Yeah. But the greater thing is not only handling your false ego alone, but also understanding your real ego. When you understand your real ego and you understand this is what I am, actually I am not a doctor, I am doctor temporarily. I am a spirit soul. அந்த மாதிரி ego நம்ம cultivate பண்ணும்போது false ego will become very disappear. It will disappear by itself. இது material work பண்ணி we are adjusting the false ego. But அது ரொம்ப நாள் நிக்காது. After you learn from him, you'll turn around and find out another person who does not know as good as you and again exhibit your false ego. You'll be humble in front of this person. You'll turn around and you find a weaker person who knows less than you. You'll say,
Yes.
You want to enjoy your false ego. But the better thing to do is to cultivate your real ego. I am a spirit soul. I am not man, woman, doctor, engineer, father, society president. I am not all these things. Those are all temporary designations. Really speaking, I am part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I am His servant eternally. If you cultivate, this is what the Indian culture. You will see before the Mughals and the Britishers not came, filled with this culture. Everybody is serving each other, and everybody is singing the glories of God. Very highly cultured people. But of course they were also very good at shipbuilding, producing steel, producing textiles, highest GDP in the whole world, exporting, all this also going on. But they are very busy doing this only, morning to evening. On the side they do that. That which they do is very less portion of the day than what they fully do. So foundationally a spiritual culture. So number one, if you cultivate a spiritual thing, not that you are materially going to be lesser. You will become materially even great and still not have false ego. Although India was so great, they came in plundering, they said, Gandhiji is known to have said, you can take everything from us, but you can never take our self-respect. That is our spiritual culture. You can't take my spiritual culture away. Whatever you are taking, I can reproduce again. Why? Because I have the foundational manufacturing thing in me.
It's wonderful, Maharaj.
I have the foundation, I will keep on producing. Even today, India is producing. Why? See, I just read yesterday a historian saying, a Muslim historian saying, India is a place where people have been highly mature, very cultured, very tolerant, very patient, and very accommodating people. This is, he is writing about very old historian writing. Even before the Mughals came, the travelers came, all they said, such a nice people in this country. They don't care, they give you plenty. They make you feel nice. Their spiritual culture is so good. And they will go and teach you whatever you want. You want to make steel, go here. They'll teach you everything about it. Because that is not important to me. And now it has become important because of the economy and this and that and everything together. And people have lost their spiritual culture. Then false ego, all these things are there, competition, fighting, all that. But in a rich society, with high spiritual culture, there's no competition. That's why you see in the Mahabharata, Drishtadyumna and Draupadi came from the fire produced. Drupada's son and daughter. The Drupada wanted to avenge Dronacharya. Both were very great friends and they split and also big story. And Drishtadyumna, he will send Drishtadyumna go and learn from Dronacharya only. It is predicted that Drishtadyumna is a person who will kill Dronacharya, finally. He is born for that. But the father Drupada will send Drishtadyumna, the only person who can teach arms, weaponry, fighting of best is this fellow who has become my enemy, was my great friend. I send you to him only to teach. So Drishtadyumna will go and tell Dronacharya and Drupada's, I am Drupada's son, Drishtadyumna, young, handsome, nice fellow. You want to learn from him. And Dronacharya knows this is the fellow who is going to kill me. He is going to be my death. He will teach him. No, but I am a teacher. I will teach you everything. Because what is going to happen, I am not going to control that. This meaning of noblemen. Noblemen. So society was like that. High class thinking, rich people. Rich inside. I don't mind that's predicted that the other fellow is supposed to kill me. If nowadays come, apdiya, actually not only in my school, in no school you should get admission. They will try all that stuff together. It will not work. Finally you will anyway die. What is supposed to happen? So this rich culture, noblemen, I cannot stop that if that is going to happen. Fine. Adhe madri Yudhishthira will go and ask, after the war is declared, he will go to Bhishma and say, we know how to handle everybody, we are Pandavas. But the only person whom we cannot kill is you. You are very highly talented. உங்களை எப்படி கொல்றதுன்னு கேட்டுக்கிறாரு. He's going and asking Bhishma how to finish you. Then Bhishma will smile and he will say, how intelligent are these people? First, I have got great affection for them. Plus, dutifully he is asking. And I cannot be without giving answer also. At the right time, I will tell you, not now. Because I am now fighting for Duryodhana. I cannot spoil that duty of mine. At the right time you ask me, I will tell you. He will wait for the right time. Then he will come at the right time and say, now you tell me. Then he will tell the best way, nobody can defeat me. The first way I tell you. Because he fought with Parashurama himself and defeated Parashurama. So you have seen that, no? Nobody can kill me. That I want to tell you first. But if I stop fighting, you can kill me. The way to do it is, I have some rules, norms in my Kshatriya life. If you bring a lady in front of me, and if she tries to fight with me, I'll put my arms down. I don't fight ladies. That fellow called Shikandi is actually a lady. He's Amba from previous life. I look at him like lady. Put him in the front, he can shoot me, I'll lay my arms down, I'll die. The secret he tells, he's telling. This is what I mean by culture and richness and nobleness. And that is how Bhishma will die. He will sit on the bed and again, after teaching them how to kill me also, after he is down on the arrows, he is giving them advice also. He still called the Pandavas and said, how wonderful people you are. He is not angry. He is not saying that nothing like that. He is noble man, richness. This is spiritual life. This is India. This is the values. We have to teach our children these things. You'll become a richer person, not only a doctor. You'll become more than a doctor. Become a doctor of the soul. Good time?
Yes.